Hi everyone, how are you? My name is Maureen Taylor, and I want to welcome you to this webinar about the strategic communication area at University of Technology, Sydney. It looks like we have about 20 people on, and it looks like Emma, you win. You were the first one on, so good for you. All right, what I'm going to do is to share my screen and start this presentation because I bet all of you have other things that you can do afterwards. All right. Perfect. All right, well, welcome again. My name is Maureen Taylor, and I am the head of the public communication area. I don't know if you can hear me, but I am not Australian. I'm actually American, and I moved here last May to join Professor Jim McNamara and my colleagues in the public communication area here at UTS to be a part of what I consider to be the strongest communication program in the world right now, especially across Australia and the world. We're doing some really cutting edge research, and I'm going to be really happy to share some of that with you today. We have a couple of housekeeping notes that I need you to be aware of. First of all, this is being recorded. We're recording the audio, the screen share, and me. We're not going to be doing anything with that information. All we're using it for is in-house so that we can better understand the questions that people have. And so if you don't wish to be involved or be recorded, then you can contact the FAST marketing at UTS. You can see that on the bottom. But if you do agree, let's continue. So right now in the world, strategic communication is probably one of the most important things that organizations are doing. The COVID-19 is both a health crisis and a communication and information crisis. If you think about today of all the misinformation and disinformation and all of the communication campaigns that organizations and governments are enacting, it's all about people being safe. It's all about people understanding. For us in the strategic communication area, we believe that the COVID-19 era is going to define the organizations that are meeting and exceeding societal expectations and those that are not. And the organizations that are doing that, they're doing it because they have good strategic expert communicators giving advice to organizational leaders about what the public needs and what the public wants and what their employees need and what their employees want. The nice thing about our program at the graduate level is that we convert theory into real life practice. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. First, my research over the last 2.5 years, I've worked on bushfires information and engagement campaigns. So I've worked with different agencies, SES, with the Queensland, what are they called? Queensland Communication and Fire and Rescue, and we're helping them to become better communicators and empowering citizens and families to be safer during bushfire or flood seasons. I have a project with my colleague, Jim McNamara, that we're working for the World Health Organization, both the Western Pacific region and Geneva, and we're helping them to understand their communication outreach and helping them to monitor and evaluate the impact of their messaging. So we have this wonderful opportunity at UTS to take theory and put it into practice and to serve society. And as you can see, the quote by Jane Kerwin, who was one of our students in the master's program, she says that the course provides a great foundation for a variety of roles across public and media, social media, advocacy, and corporate communication. And if you should join us, you would learn to be able to be a strategic communication manager across those areas. Let's see here. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to share with you a few of our programs. I'm going to tell you about them, and then later I'm going to tell you about how you can apply for them. Our flagship program is new. It's the Executive Master of Strategic Communication course. And this is for people who have at least 3 years of work experience. So if you're working in a communication related field and you've had at least 3 years of experience, this might be the program for you. In this program, we have 9 different subjects and 2 different streams: corporate and marketing communication and government communication. Students complete a major project where they actually conduct original research that helps their organization better understand an issue or a public. The students can do this course in 1.5 years if they're full-time, if they take 3 subjects per semester. And part-time students, they can take it as long as they need to. So sometimes students will only take 1 subject per semester because they have families and they need work-life balance. Our program is set up so you could do it either way. You could get it out of the way in 1.5 years, or you can take your time and take 1 course each session. The students who come into this Executive Master of Strategic Communication are really amazing people. They work in places like Qantas or Virgin. They work for the government, or they work in the banking or commerce sector. And what happens in the Executive Master's program is the students who are all around the same level, they come in and they use the class time to talk about real world problems they're trying to solve, right? Real world issues that their organization is facing. And together, it's sort of like this, the meeting of the minds. And we take and we read theories and we apply them to real world problems. So it's a great program. Now, what happens with the students who graduate with the Executive Master, they go on to manager or director level positions. They become senior strategists and advisors. Many of them work in government, and by the time they finish our program, they will be able to be at the head of a communication agency and be on their way to becoming a chief communication officer. So the chief communication officer is like the, it's like the CEO, right? Chief executive officer. Great organizations also have chief communication officers. So if you have that 3 years of work experience in the industry, I highly recommend exploring the Executive Masters. We have another master as well, just the Master of Strategic Communication. This also has 9 subjects. We have 6 core classes that we want you to take, and then you can have 3 electives. This would be for students who maybe don't have an undergraduate degree in communication, but want to move over into the field of strategic communication. So a lot of our students, they might have 1 year work experience, or they may be working in a field that is not their, they discovered they don't love it anymore. Right, so I've had actually people with engineering degrees, social work, education, who come into our master's program. This program you could complete in 1.5 years as well if you went full time, or you could do it part-time and take 1 or 2 subjects per semester. And in this course, you're going to learn about all of the facets of strategic communication. You're going to learn about how to collect and analyze data for real world problem solving, right? You're going to learn about campaign strategy. You're going to learn about employee communication and internal comms. So this is a really great program as well. Finally, we have the Graduate Diploma in Strategic Communication. This is like a way to get your feet wet into the strategic communication field. The course has only 6 subjects where you take 4 core subjects, then you get 2 electives. Students can complete this in 1 year, and part-time students can do it in about 1.5 years to 2 years. The nice thing about this program is then you can move directly into the master's program when you complete this. So this is a great way for students who might not be sure that a master is the right degree, but you can get your feet wet and enroll in this program. In general, when students graduate from our program, they have the skills, and skills for us are both conceptual skills, like the ability to solve problems, as well as practical skills, like how to do things. So they could go into jobs such as corporate communication manager, public relations manager, marketing comm manager. People go work in advertising firms, or if you've had a little bit more experience, they can go into senior communication officer roles or public affairs roles. I'm really pleased because we have a lot of people in our program who currently work or want to work in stakeholder engagement. I just finished editing a book on communication engagement, and I actually believe that the future of strategic communication is around the idea of stakeholder or community engagement. We're really lucky because whereas many fields are constricting, the field of strategic communication is growing. We have amazing growth potential. We have very low unemployment, and the high skills levels that you get from our program are highly sought after in the field. And we have a link here that you could look at that will show you that as occupations go, a career in strategic communication is a good financial decision, and it's a good use of your very precious free time when you're not at work and you're not with your family. So why should you study it here? you should study it here for the same reason that I came to UTS. We are an exceptional program of transdisciplinary innovation. So we have relationships not only across the School of Communication, but we have relationships with the School of Business, the School of International Studies and Education, and also transdisciplinary studies, which takes a really creative and innovative look at how we solve large, wicked problems. Our course culminates with a practice-related project that you can do on any topic that you're interested in. So it gives you a leg up on other people, because say you want to get a job at Qantas or Virgin Australia or with the government, you can use that project to study a problem or opportunity that organization is facing. And when you go into your interview, or if you already work there and you want a promotion, you have cutting edge information and analysis to share with the organization. So it's one of our hallmarks, is that students actually leave with a project that can show off all the things that they've learned. Now, we have some amazing people, not only in our faculty, but who we cooperate with. So for instance, for many of you, distinguished Professor Jim McNamara is probably the most famous Australian public relations scholar. He has written many books on listening. He owned his own research firm, and he has this really wonderful approach of how he views the role of organizations in society. And so he is one of the reasons actually that I moved here from the United States. My work, me, Maureen Taylor, I've spent the last 20 years working on how public relations contributes to society. I have consulted everywhere from Afghanistan, Liberia, Iraq, Pakistan, all across Africa and Eastern Europe. And what I've done is I've tried to take the theories and the concepts of public relations and public communication and use them to help communities rebuild after a crisis. And so there's a very much a pro-social bent to the way that we approach strategic communication. My colleague Kate Delmo, she studies crisis and issues management and teaches probably one of the best subjects that we have, called issues and crisis communication, that executive students take. And students not only learn about the different approaches to crisis and issues communication, but they conduct and they participate in real life simulations. And in these simulations, students get to do all the different roles of leading an organization, creating the message, working with the media, problem solving. And finally, we also have Dr. Soo-Jin Kim, who studies how publics form. And so she does quantitative research into understanding how publics form around issues. And it's really useful because one of our classes, called Understanding and Engaging Publics, is all about trying to figure out what publics want, what they do, and how we can work best with them. Our colleagues over at the business school, Dr. Walter Jarvis, he's really taking this social purpose approach to business. And I'm co-teaching with him this session. And it's fascinating to listen to him talk about the critical turn in business. And then in creative intelligence, we work with Professor Bemla Hunt, who actually won last year's University Technology Sydney Teaching Award. And she teaches an amazing class where you take a wicked problem and you apply all different kinds of different thinking about how to solve it. So these are exciting times in the communication field. Now, I'm not going to tell you how exciting it is. I'm actually going to hand the floor over to one of my students. So Tamara has been my student twice, and that's not why I picked her. I picked her because she's smart and she has a really positive can-do attitude, and I've always appreciated it. Tamara, are you there?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Tamara, and I'm currently in my second semester of my first year of a Master of Strategic Communication. I honestly cannot express enough how incredible my student experience has been. I remember feeling very overwhelmed at the beginning of my first semester. I had actually come to this degree without a background in communication, and I felt like this would perhaps impede on my learning and my success in this degree, but actually it proved not to be of any significance at all. So many of my peers had also come to this degree without any prior knowledge of communication, whereas others had been working in a communication role for numerous years. I find that in each class, this diversity of perspectives and backgrounds enables thriving group discussion, especially as what we are learning is a deeper, new way of thinking about communication. What we're being taught can be applied to any role, irrespective of what it's labeled. it doesn't necessarily have to be labeled strategic communication. So for example, after my first semester last year, where I was taught how to gain audience insights through analyzing data, I started volunteering at a small non-for-profit human rights legal center. Thanks to what I had learned, I was able to apply these skills to numerous aspects of the organization, including creating things like surveys. But it was through analyzing the results and other audience insights, which is what enabled me to present relevant data that actually helped the organization realize their objectives in a way that no one at the firm had that skill set to do. Needless to say, the CEO was quite impressed, and to be honest, so was I, because it involved statistical math, and I've always been hopeless at math. I dropped it in year 10. But the fact that I was able to do that after just one semester is a testament to the incredible teaching staff who not only teach us this material, but go above and beyond to ensure that we have genuinely understood and can apply it. All of my professors and tutors have been very supportive and caring and are always available to ask questions and offer extra guidance. Even now, during a global pandemic, my professors have done everything possible to ensure that we are still getting the best learning experience, including scheduling extra multiple optional weekly meetings for students to ask questions about the assessments and course content, even on the weekend. Although I found that the courses are structured in a way to ensure that students have a good work-study life balance. And finally, one of the best parts in my experience has been that there aren't any formal written exams, just assessment-based work. So literally for each assessment prior to submitting, we have the opportunity to ask for feedback and extra guidance from people who are leading experts in this field. I've genuinely had a very positive experience, and I've made some friends, which is just really nice and particularly helpful during exam periods because we all help and support each other through it. Overall, I'm really glad that I made the decision at this time last year to study this degree.
Okay, wow. I could not have said it better. Thank you so much. All right, excellent, thank you. Excellent, all right. And we didn't pay her. All right, so now I hope you're saying, wait a minute, I want to be able to get into this program as soon as possible. Hopefully you're saying this is something that I want to do. So let's just talk about some of the admissions requirements for the different programs. So we'll start with the executive program. You would need to have a minimum of 3 years relevant work experience in the communication industry. And we can talk to you about whether or not your current experience counts. You need to have completed a recognized bachelor's degree. And you need to have or submit evidence of general and professional qualifications that demonstrate your potential to pursue graduate studies. For applicants with a bachelor's degree, it should be in the field of education, management, commerce, society, culture, or creative arts. It's a broad base. And you can also, if you have a master's already or a graduate diploma, or some type of certification and qualifications, then that will make it easy as well. If you haven't met the requirements, then we ask you to write a personal statement and to give us your CV. And I get to look at those, and I really enjoy that part because then I get to know a little bit about the students who are coming into our area. Now, for the Master of Strategic Communication, it's pretty much similar, except you don't have to have the 3 years work experience. So we want you to have completed a UTS recognized bachelor's degree or an equivalent or a higher qualification. And then you submit evidence of general or professional qualifications. Again, we like the degree to be in education, management and commerce, society and culture, or creative arts. It's pretty broad. If your field is not in any of those areas, then you need to have 2 years of work experience. It doesn't have to be in the communication field, by the way. For applicants with a master's, a graduate diploma, or the qualification can be in any field of study. And if you haven't met these admission requirements, it's okay because a personal statement and a CV will help us to understand your fit for the program and whether or not the program serves what you're looking for. Because we really do want to have a fit between what you want and what we have. And then the graduate diploma, the sticking your toe into the water, right? It's similar to the Masters of Communication. So you need to have an undergraduate degree. However, it is an admission pathway for applicants who don't have an undergraduate degree. If you haven't completed your bachelor's or a master's or any of those other areas, we ask you to write a personal essay explaining why you wish to study in the course. We ask for a copy of your CV, and we look to see whether or not you have the background that will allow you to excel in the class. The good news is that students who come into the graduate diploma can then transition into the Master of Strategic Communication once they complete the diploma. So it's a nice pathway. For international students, we have an English proficiency requirement. And essentially it's the IELTS 6.5 and above with a writing score of 6.0. We look at TOEFLs. So we're looking in the 550 to 580 range, and a TW of 4.5. For the AE5, we're looking for a pass, and the PTE, we're looking for the high 50s, low 60s. Or if you have the CAE, we're looking in the high 170s to low 180s. And our team at the admissions office can really help you understand your fit for the program and where your scores fall for this. Now, we also do recognition of prior learning. So for some people, they may have studied at another university, but maybe didn't finish. And we do this on a case-by-case basis. So recognition of prior learning would allow you to substitute courses that maybe you've already had at another university. Let's talk about money, because getting a master's degree is an investment into your future. And like all investments, what you put into it will be returned to you multiple fold if you do a good job in your master's. So if you look here, you can look at the different costs for the executive master's program. And these are per subject, per session, and if you go full time. And we have a really handy online fee calculator that you can use. You can go to the UTS website and look at it. We also have help with fees. And more importantly, if you are a UTS alumni, you get to save 10% if you go to this UTS Advantage site. So we really want you to come back. If you have a degree from us for your bachelor's, come back and get your master's. Even if it isn't in communication, just come back to UTS in general. We love seeing students come back to us after they've left us for a while. So right now, I think I'm pretty much done. Here's my closing comment, right? A good strategic communication person always has a key message. This is an amazing time in the strategic communication field. Communication is becoming more and more relevant. It was always relevant, but today with COVID, with misinformation and disinformation, with the rise of social media, and this question in society about what we're going to look like in the post-COVID-19 world, we need communication leaders. And I believe that the UTS program in strategic communication, whether it's the executive program, the master, or the diploma, would provide you with both the conceptual skills and the practical knowledge that you would need to be one of those people who could answer those big questions about what life is going to look like for organizations in a post-COVID-19 world. So I'm going to stop right now, and now it's time for you to talk and to ask me some of your questions. Aha. Are there any, okay, excellent. I'm going to answer this one live. Anonymous attendee. Are there any elective options or opportunities to complete a sub-major? We definitely have electives, and we have electives that help you to go deeper into the field that you're interested in. So we do, and so the executive master's, I believe, has 3, and the other master's has 2 or 3 as well. All right, Kylie, hi, I applied for the executive master's because I don't have a degree, but several years work experience. From what Maureen just says, it looks like the executive master's. What's the difference between the two? That's a great question. The executive master's is for people who have at least 3 years of work experience, Kylie. That's really the major focus. 3 years work experience, because in those classes, we want the level of discussion to be around management. And so the regular master's would be for students who maybe don't have 3 years work experience or have work experience in other industries. So if you've got 3 years of work experience in the communication industry, the executive master's program would be a good one for you. If you haven't had 3 years work experience in the communication field, then I recommend that you apply to the regular Master of Strategic Communication. Okay. Hi, Ty. Let's see, Ty. Hi, I finished a bachelor's degree of nursing at UTS. If I want to enroll in graduate Stratcom, do I need to submit a personal statement and CV? I'm gonna ask for help here. James, can you help me on this answer?
Sure. Sorry. I'm just looking up. Can we come back to this one for a minute? I just need to make sure that the nursing falls, whether or not it falls within the social sciences category, the creative arts category in social sciences.
Okay.
So I'll come back to this.
All right, we'll come back to this, but I have to tell you how wonderful it would be to have somebody with a medical background in our classes to start talking about how we create better strategic communication messages in health information. That would be a wonderful 1-2 punch. All right, so James is going to come back to that one. Jennifer, what are the expectations of hours spent studying per week as a guide? And when it says part-time students on Canvas, let's see. What does this look like if you do a grad dip and you get RPL to do the exec master? Wow, you've got all the lingo down, Jennifer. Good for you. Sorry, just setting expectations as a working mother of a young family. You know, that's a great question. If you take one subject, you're generally in class for about 2 hours a week, although things are going to be a little different in the post-COVID world where we're probably going to have some hybrid classes where you won't have to come to campus, although I think people like coming to campus. So here's what I would say. I would say there's about 3 hours of work per week per class that you take. In some weeks there'll be less, and some weeks there'll be more. So if you were to take one class of 8 credit points, you would probably be in class 2 hours, and then you'd probably have approximately 3 hours of reading or discussion groups or assessments. So that's what I would say. And again, some weeks you might not have that much, and other weeks you might have a little bit more because you could have an assessment due. If I do you get RPL? Do they get RPL for the executive master? James, that's another question. I believe that, I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to be wrong. Do they get recognition of prior learning for the executive masters?
I don't think so, but I think it's a case-by-case basis. So if they can provide us with the information, like the CV and the transcript, we'll assess that and then we'll come back. Okay,
excellent. Thank you. Hi, Ben. Is book publishing considered as part of the communication experience? Have you been working, do you do management, Ben? I would say if you have been doing some type of communication management in book publishing, it would definitely be close. So I would say definitely apply. All right, let's see. Joanna, are there any subjects currently being offered online? That's funny, everything is being offered online right now. So that's a great question, Joanna. Traditionally, we have had face-to-face classes with some weeks off. One of the things you'll discover is in most of our classes, we don't meet every single week face-to-face, even before COVID-19, because we would have some weeks where you do self-paced work on your own. And a lot of our students liked that because if they lived up at the Central Coast, they could go home from work at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock instead of at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. So I believe that we will have greater hybridity in the future. And yes, I can say that there probably will be some classes that are 100% online. I don't know which ones they'll be right now, but we have been asked to consider what offerings we could do online at the undergraduate and the postgraduate level. Okay, I'm looking now at Brett. I'm working full-time, would love to enroll in the non-executive program. Following on the above question, is there a way I can complete the program in 2 years? Sure, definitely. We actually are offering, you can usually take 2 classes. I would say no more than 2 classes in a session. And then one of the things that we have been talking about is making sure that we have some classes in summer. So for instance, I taught in December and January this year to help the executive students move through the process faster because they were in a hurry to get out. They wanted to do it, they wanted to get out, they wanted to take their credentials forward and start looking for that next big job. Okay, so again, you can do it. It's gonna be tough, but you can do it. All right, let's see, anonymous attendee. I have 20 years experience in communication, good for you. And I'm working as a strategic comms manager for a federally run cultural institution. Yes, that I think actually the executive masters would be perfect for you for a variety of reasons. We actually already have somebody in our executive program who works for the Arts Council. And so she has come into the program in the executive level because she wanted to be able to move up through the field. I would say that would be very beneficial to you. You're going to get data insights in any of the master's programs, whether it's executive or the regular master's program. As Tamara said, you gain it in the understanding and engaging audiences class. You learn how to collect and analyze data. So it's not specific to one program. Anonymous attendee. Okay, let's see, do I have more? Okay, let's look. Would the subjects require the purchase of textbooks? None of the classes that I have taught, and I've taught 4 now, require a textbook. Because what we really want you to do is we want you to have the most up-to-date information, and many times that's research articles. We have an excellent library, and so they buy online versions of all the books that we want. And then the students can we just link you through the library to that chapter or to that book. So you don't have to buy textbooks. You may want some textbooks, like you might want a style guide, or you might want some of the theory books. But no, for the most part, most of us are not having students buy textbooks. And also, they're just so expensive. I think we can do better for you by using the resources that we have. All right, Sharna. Would 3 years in marketing be likely to count as relevant practical experience? Yes, because that would fall under that business and commerce. So yes, good for you. Carmi, I came out of this college interested in the diploma. I'm now interested. Oh, good. All right. 15 years of work experience, no formal training in communication, but I have writing experience, public speaking. You know, that's a good question for you. I don't know if the executive would be for you. If you're not at a level where you're advising about communication. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is, James, can we put Carmi's name on a list? She's got 15 years of work experience, but no formal training in communication yet. Oh, she does transport. Okay, so that one I'm going to, 15 years experience, no background in communication, but public speaking and writing.
What we may do is get a copy of your CV. So I'll send Kami an email, and then if Kami can reply back with a copy of your CV, we can have a closer look at this.
Excellent, thank you, James.
You're welcome.
All right. Is it a practice-based course or more theory? I'm working and I'd like to, okay, excellent. You know what, here's what I'm gonna say, it's both, right? For us, the difference between theory and practice isn't that strong, because there's this great quote that says, the best theory is the practical theory, right? There's nothing more practical than a good theory, by Kurt Lewin, right? There's nothing as practical as a good theory, because theories are conceptual frameworks for helping us to understand things. So yes, you would learn about data, right? And that was, Tamara took the course. Our students are learning how to do interviews, content analysis, social media analysis, and observations. Our class on understanding and engaging audience has a social media component to it, where students actually study an organization's social media outreach to give them insights into their audiences. So you would get that. And would we teach you how to use social media? No, that we won't do. We teach you, though, how to analyze it and how to use it strategically, so how to use it for messaging. Because for us, I think the idea is there's so many platforms out there that they're constantly changing. But if you have a really good strategy about what you want to say and what you want to accomplish on social media, then that's what we can train you to do. Samantha, does the master's offer summer classes as well? We have not in the past. We just did it for the executive program. But one of the things that I'm seeing is that there is this real interest in changing the way that we've approached the graduate education. So I think this COVID-19 shows us that students want online courses. They want to be able to go to school all year round. We don't want to force you to, because you kind of do need your time off. but I do believe that it is in the mix in the future. And if that's something that's important to you, you write that, you let us know, because we're really student-centered, I have to say. All right, I've applied for the master's, but it sounds like the executive master's. Should I apply for both and have the faculty assess which one I'm suitable for? I don't know. I would say that 8 years work experience in comms. Well, that sounds to me like the executive master's might be better for you because the classes are at a higher level, right? 8 years work experience to me says that you're ready to move, if you're already not in management, that you're ready to move to that senior level manager or director role. So the executive masters would definitely, you'd be having those conversations with other people in the room who are doing the same thing. So anonymous attendee, I'm going to suggest that the executive masters might be better. Natalie, is there potential to do a research unit as an elective in either the grad or, yes. Well, our understanding and engaging audiences is considered a research unit. If you wanted to take a research unit in another area, yes, I think you could use your elective for that. And I love that, Natalie. I love that you want to do research. Good for you. Research is really an amazing part of understanding strategic communication. Are there subjects to help with stakeholder engagement and influencing decisions? That's so fantastic. Actually, tomorrow night, the stakeholder engagement class is meeting, and Professor May Hansford is teaching the class. Stakeholder engagement, as I mentioned earlier, I think is the future of our field. How do we help our organizations better understand and meet the expectations of stakeholders? And you do it obviously through gaining insights, using research, and applying different conceptual frameworks for thinking about what publics are doing and thinking and mostly behaving. So we have those definite classes, and then you could do stakeholder engagement for your project as well at the end. When you take the strategic communication project, you could do stakeholder engagement as well. And then influencing decisions, yes, we definitely, our engaging class does that. Can I do an internship? Yes, we have a class that's called Strategic Communication Project, which has two components, an internship or a research-based project. Right now, the students can't do the internships, so they're all doing a project, but in the past. And UTS, because of our great location, we're really able to get students to be able just to only be like 6 blocks away, and they're doing a really engaging and wonderful internship. All right. Let's see, anonymous. If I start the executive, it's too high level. James, I'm going to ask you about that one. Have we had anybody transfer from the exec to the regular?
Not at this point. So, however, if someone is finding it a bit too high level, we would encourage you to have a conversation with the academic just to have just address your concerns. And that then, because there is no pathway to transfer in, you have to just reapply one more time. And because applications are free for domestic students anyway, we'll be able to assess you straight away for the StratCom. And since you got into the exec masters, it'd just be a straightforward offer into the Master of Strategic Communication.
Excellent, and that's an excellent point. And I will tell you that the executive students do take some classes with the master students. So there are some classes where they sit together, and it's really great, because what I've seen is that many students like Tamara can listen to some of our top communication executives in the field who are also students, and because they're in that class, they raise the level of discussion so that the students who might not have any work experience are getting to hear about how people who have been working for 3 to 30 years in the field are making decisions and considering what communication is. So in the beginning, there's a couple of classes where you are together, and that's actually a good opportunity for you to see the kinds of thinking and the levels of experience that the executive students have. Okay, Sharna, I've only been in the workplace for 3 years. So if you're worried about your depth, then I would argue that then if I've only been in for 3 years, but had some experience, but worried about feeling out of my depth, one of the things might be is that, maybe we have you talk to somebody who's in both programs, like Tamara or somebody else, and you can get some insights into their perceptions. All right, hold on. All right. Are there pathways to HDR from the master? Well, one of the great ways is to, when you have a professor like me, and I love research. And if I actually have my eye on a couple students right now who are in the master's program who are really smart. And I have started having conversations with them about HDR. And you would be, by taking this master, you would have that class on research. So your engaging audiences class teaches you about primary data collection. And that would be one opportunity for you to get your feet wet into collecting data and applying theories. Anonymous attendee. All right.
Sorry,
Yes.
I'm just going to cut in because we've got a question from Sarah on the chat panel because she's unable to ask anything on the Q&A. So I'm just going to ask on her behalf. So she's saying, I assume learning is online now. Post COVID-19, is it still possible to continue online or will it move back to the classroom?
Here's what I believe. I believe it will become more hybrid. I believe that some subjects will be fully online. I believe that most subjects will have a hybrid component if they're not 100% online. Students really still like to see and talk to each other. And right now the technology has not allowed that to happen. And if you could just see like one of our classes, like there's all these people talking about theories and research and their work. And our classes are really exciting. So I would tell you that I don't believe we'll be 100% online, although I believe there's a digital marketing master's program that's going to be 100% online. We haven't gone down that path, but I believe there will be classes that will be 100% online and that all classes will have a hybrid component of some face-to-face and some online. How's that, Sarah? Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm going to anonymous attendee here at 5:41. I don't have any comms work experience. Can I start with the grad? Of course. Yes, and I actually think that that's what the graduate diploma really is, right? It's to get your feet wet and to see if you like it. And if you like it, then you can transfer into the master program. So yes, definitely. And then what times are classes usually held? Excellent. Classes are almost always in the evening. So this session, I am teaching a 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock class for local students, for students who are full-time and aren't working. And then I teach the same class again from 5 to 7 p.m. Last session, I taught from 6 to 8. And then this session, I also have a class that's 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So the start times vary. We recognize that people work. And we also recognize, though, that if we start too late, people who live up on the coast, down the coast or up the coast are going to be on a train really late. So we do have classes mostly at night. And are all similar subjects or completely different? Are there similar subjects or completely different? Here's for each degree. No, they share the same subjects, except the executive students do have a few bespoke classes that are just for them right now. Although we have talked about opening up to more advanced master students. So they will share several classes, and you'll be in those classes with exec students and regular master student and diploma students, and then there'll be a couple classes special for the executive students. How close apart is the field of marketing? Okay, Ben, that's a great question. I'm going to tease it out a little bit. All right, so strategic, I'll start with marketing, right? So marketing is about sales, right? Marketing is about selling a product, a service, an idea, a brand. And strategic communication supports the marketing function. But the way that we teach strategic communication is it's also the umbrella to all things that the organization does. So strategic communication is about ethics, right? And it is about business, because it wouldn't be successful if it wasn't tied to the bottom line. So they work together. I would see people in our program could go easily into a marketing position, and that people who have a marketing background would be able to come into our program and feel quite comfortable. I think the big difference is the ends, right? Marketing is measured by sales and promotions. Strategic communication has very many different outcomes that we're interested in, including, of course, some behavior and attitude, but we're also interested in things like social capital and community development and community engagement. So I think that they have different end goals, but they work together very nicely in most organizations. And as we teach it, strategic communication is an umbrella term for a whole bunch of different approaches to communication: public relations, advertising, integrated marketing communication. What else do we do? Engagement, listening, all of those areas. So I hope that answers your question, Ben. My, let's see, one open. Okay, yes, thanks. Okay, close that out. I answered 25 questions? My goodness, okay. Do we have any more?
One have just come in.
Okay, great. Let's see. Which one is it? Oh, I see it, sorry. Nope, that was Ben. Okay, I don't see one past Ben. Does anyone see one that I maybe have missed?
I can read it off to you.
Please,
So,
okay.
So from an anonymous attendee, once again, so it says that if I'm interested in pursuing copywriting, particularly working in an ad agency, is this the right program for me?
That's an excellent question. So if you want to be a manager in that agency, and so you're not the copywriter, right? You're the person who is the director of the copywriters. I'm sure there's a name for it. It's escaping me right now. I think this would be the program. If you want the skills on how to do copywriting, then I might recommend, maybe the journalism or something in that area where you'll be focusing more on writing. Now, here's the good thing. You'll gain insights into people and their motivations and their communication needs, but we don't have a class on copywriting. We can give you the conceptual frameworks that will help you be a better copywriter, but we're not going to teach you how to be a copywriter. All right. Let's see, any more questions?
There's one back from Kami as well.
Okay.
So for the diploma course starting this semester, do we have classes taught directly by you and Professor McNamara?
Yes. Professor McNamara, interesting, will be on a 1-year, we call it a sabbatical in the States, but you got me, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And I will teach probably engaging audiences. So understanding and engaging audiences again, because I like the research methods class. And I will teach in the executive program, the class on executive strategic communication project. And I'm also teaching in strategic communication and integration with the business school. And Professor McNamara often does guest lectures. And there's like all these great videos of him giving lectures and answering questions and giving speeches. So if he's not here for that first year, he will be back though in the second year.
We have an anonymous attendee who would like to ask, can Tamara talk a little bit more about what she hopes to achieve after graduating and why
that's great. Okay.
And why she chose UTS as opposed to other competitors?
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm going to answer the second question first. So I actually chose to study at UTS because when I was sort of going through the different communication courses across the different universities, I really thought that UTS would be the best one, particularly for communication, and it just has like an outstanding communication rep. I even remember back when I had just finished year 12 and I was sort of deciding what undergraduate course I wanted to do. Everyone at school would always tell me, if you're going to go into communications, study at UTS. It's the best university for communications. And so that's ultimately why I just chose UTS as opposed to UCID or UNSW or any of the other universities that offer communication courses. And in terms of what I want to do after I graduate, that's a good question. I am not 100% sure, to be honest. But after having studied the subject last semester that I spoke about, the audience insights through data analysis, I surprisingly really enjoyed it so much. And so I actually think I might want to go into a subject like that, to a career like that, because I just think you can truly understand what the public or that particular audience are thinking. And from actually having analyzed a social media content analysis, what I originally thought that they were thinking or what they wanted was entirely different after having done that analysis. So I just think it's really valuable I can definitely see the value that would have to organizations. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry if it doesn't. And if there are any other questions in regards to student life, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Okay, James, how are we doing for time?
We're still doing pretty well. So we've got more questions that have come through
Great.
from an anonymous attendee. Is there a lot of group work in these courses?
Yes, actually, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. We believe that if you're going to work in the communication industry, you're not going to be working alone. So that you need to learn how to work in groups, how to communicate across groups, how to build synergy. So here's what I would say, that every class that I teach generally has at least one group component. We are limited by the amount of credit, like the amount of your mark that can be group. It's no more than 30%. So that's good for students who don't like groups. But I have found students enjoy the group process because for many of them, they get to meet other students. They get to learn from other students. It's like having a lot of kids, right? They kind of take care of each other. They help each other out and they answer each other's questions. So there is a group component to it. And we believe it is done in a way that is really productive and that students get a lot out of it.
Okay, the next question, I think I can answer this particular question, giving you a bit of a breather, Maureen.
Okay.
So it says, this course sounds very interesting. So kudos to Maureen. Can you please send us a copy of the link for the course, the diploma to the master's with the subject options? If we're interested in doing the course part-time, is there a particular order we need to do the subjects in, or do we pick and choose depending on what is actually available each semester? So we, if you're really interested, look at it now. You can always just Google UTS Master of Strategic Communication, then that should bring you to those pages. And if you look down that particular page, it actually does give you a recommended enrollment schedule. So they do tell you what subjects you should be enrolling in each particular semester if you're starting in spring full-time or starting in part-time. But the post-event comms that we're sending out will also have a lot of this information. So which we usually send out about 2 days after, because we've got to wait for the link to this particular webinar recording so that we can send it included in the comms itself, and then you can review it. So we have another question from an anonymous attendee. Will we learn about advanced analytical methods in learning and engaging audience class? I did a few marketing psychology research units in my bachelor's degree. Would it be a bit of a revision?
No, I think because you would be doing it from a different approach. Because in marketing, you are doing it from marketing approach. And for us, you'd be doing it from strategic communication. So if you have those data analysis skills, that's fantastic. But what really matters is the analysis, right? So data, collecting and analyzing data is really important skill to have, but being able to make sense of it and make it actionable, that's what we'll be able to teach you, to make it actionable for communication outcomes.
Okay. There's another question from an anonymous attendee, and I'd be happy to answer this. She says, he or she says, thank you. Very interested in starting next semester. When is the last day to apply? This is great. So the last day to apply for, if you're a domestic student, is on the 28th of June. And if you're an international student, it's on the 15th of June. So we generally recommend that you apply as soon as possible, because it gives us time to assess it and gives you an offer in time, but also classes are already open for enrollment. So if you accept your offer early, you get to pick the class times that best suit your timetable. The next question is fee help available for this course? Yes, it is. So if you're an Australian citizen or you are a New Zealand citizen with a special visa, you do qualify for fee help. So you can also Google fee help UTS, and then the link there will give you the information, or you can just Google fee help and it will bring you onto the web page, which is the government website where you can find out more about your eligibility for fee help. Hope that answers your questions.
Great.
I think we might have covered them all. Doesn't look like there are any more questions. So, and we've got like 4 minutes to go, but
Can I have the closing word then?
sure.
Excellent. So for those 27 of you who are still here and made it through the question and answer, this is just such an exciting time. It's a very difficult time. And I know all of you right now are probably thinking, how am I going to balance work and school and family and everything else? And the answer is, if you come into this program, no matter which one you do, the diploma, the master, or the executive, we will make sure that your time is well spent. You will have engaged professors who have thoughtful assessments. The content isn't just lectures, it's group work, it's practical, it's presentations. Every week you'll learn something new that you should be able to apply in your job. And I think that this is an investment into your future. Getting a master's degree or an advanced degree is just a way of telling the world that I am a professional, that I love what I do, and I want to know as much about my field as possible. This is a really good time to be in strategic communication. And the last word is, this is a really good place to be in strategic communication. University of Technology Sydney is truly one of the top programs in the world right now, and we're only just going to get better. So I really encourage you to apply, and I encourage you to take that first step. And if you're scared or nervous, look for the graduate diploma. That's a great way to learning about the field. And if you're a working executive and you want to go through it and you want to be around people who talk about the same issues that you do, then the executive program is for you. And you'll get to take classes with great people and with great colleagues and students. So this is the right time, it's the right program, and it's the right opportunity for people in the communication industry. There, I said it.
Great. I think that's it.
Okay, I hope all of you have a great night. I am going into Teams right now to do my office hours because students have an assessment due in 2 weeks, and I'm going to answer questions. So I'm going to head off as well. All right, I look forward to seeing all of you, and I look forward someday to matching the names of the people who ask questions, like Ben, and anonymous attendee, and Natalie, and Samantha, and Carmi. I hope I'm going to see you in my classes in the spring. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.